Some lighting helps. That's pretty harsh. Double harsh. Okay. Hello, everybody. Hey, hey! Just getting everything all set up here. You can see I'm trying. All right, I'm gonna do a little survey. You gotta tell me which lighting seems more, I guess, pleasant to watch. One is normal lighting. 2 is only a small size sun. And supernova. Really? Okay, good. See how many people complain in the comments about the shitty lighting. Oh, someone actually does like one. Oh, been running around sweating before getting on video. It's not good. All right, we're going to keep it on lamp lighting. Let me just tweet out the link, and then we'll get rolling. Yeah, that was fun doing the video with Chris. And we spent a lot of time talking about, you know, racism and whether LRH was a racist. And I know people got tired of listening to that, but I actually wanted to address it again. Not whether LRH was racist, because I actually don't care. Like, meaning it's not going to break my heart if he was racist. But what makes those kind of conversations so difficult is that before you can have a conversation about whether a person, a specific person, is or is not racist, you have to first have the conversation and get on the same page as far as the difference between prejudice, privilege, discrimination, and racism. And these things really get lumped together. Like, if you saw the whole video, you'll see Chris had said that because he knew LRH was racist against Asians, he was going to assume LRH was racist against blacks. Well, to me, that doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? It's not a poster of Mike Rinder. That is a poster of... I'm sorry, the question is that a poster of Mike Rinder behind you? That's a poster from the TV show. And I've asked the A&E guys who that is supposed to be an image of, and no one has given me a straight answer. I believe it is the likeness of Tom Cruise with the body language of David Miscavige. Okay, I'm just going to tweet out this link, and then I'll actually start answering questions. Okay, boom. Okay, now let me pull up my chat window history, and then we'll really be able to get going. Pop out chat. There we go. Boom. And then over here, I want to pull out my actual channel comment history, and then we'll have everything set to go. Okay, sweet. Yeah, because there was some great comments on the last couple videos that I wanted to address. Kim Loss! Is that the Kim Loss? Okay, I'm going to look at these comments, just take it from the top down. Obligatory question about Rathbun. Okay, so Jeffrey Augustine put up a great update on his Scientology Money Project website about the Marty Rathbun situation. My personal opinion, I've addressed this before, I'll address it again. Combination of things. Marty may or may not have taken money from the church. I tend to brush off that issue because the truth is, whether he did or did not, it's not relevant to what he's doing right now. And here's what I mean. Marty's wife is a nurse and makes a good living. Marty and Mosey were about to get millions of dollars from their lawsuit if they just didn't quit. So it doesn't make sense to say the reason Marty is doing what he's doing now is because of money. He would have gotten the money anyway. He's doing it right now because, in my opinion, of mental illness. And it's a mental illness that he's had during his entire time in Scientology and the Sea Org. It's a mental illness he's had during his entire time after leaving Scientology and the Sea Org. And this is just how it manifests itself. I have never seen anyone in their lifetime be able to do so many complete about faces, some complete 180s, and completely change their mind about an issue, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And what's funny, what Jeffrey Augustine pointed out in the update to his website, which really had me kind of laughing, was that the church still has its hate websites up about Marty. So the church still has websites up calling him a liar, a psychotic, just, a whole list of words of the worst things you could call someone. And then they have a website where they expect you to take Marty's word about everything that's happening in the camp of Leah Remini. And it's kind of funny in a stupid way. Okay, so that's the Marty Rathbun question. Hello to Ohio. Hello in Seattle. How was Howdycon? Howdycon was great. It was really wonderful to meet people that I'd been kind of commenting with online for so long. And it was a good time. It was a nice, quick thing. No, thank you. Thank you very much. Stream's still going. Oh my God, a phone call came into my phone and it interrupted the live stream. I do not know how that's going to affect the video afterwards. But I can't put it on airplane mode because then it will cut off the live stream. All right. All right, let's see. Looking for questions. Hello in Michigan. Oh, why did they call it Howdycon? Oh, I think it's because the first meetup, Tony explained this. No, I don't have dial-up. Someone asked me if I have a dial-up phone. I do not. So I think Tony explained it on his blog. I think there was a guy, a gentleman who was part of the commenting community. I think his screen name was Captain Howdy, and I think he passed away. And I think the first person to propose doing kind of a meetup decided to name the meetup in his honor and called it the Howdycon. And it also kind of makes sense because howdy means hello, and it's a convention for everybody to say hi to each other. So that was that. Hello from London. You visited St. Hill over the weekend. Wow. I'd love to see those pictures. Hello in Illinois. Do you believe the Kakan story? Oh, Kakan! Okay, the question is, do you believe the Kakan theory? Kakan theory. Okay, let me explain the Kakan theory in Scientology. I think what was communicated was that Marty Rathbun was given Kakan status by David Miscavige. And it was explained on a TV show, on some TV program that was defined as getting away with murder 10 times. And that is a misunderstanding. So in the Sea organization, L. Ron Hubbard did write an issue for the issues LRH wrote that apply only to the Sea Org are called flag orders. And there was a flag order that called this status Kakan. And it's a symbolic thing. It doesn't mean getting away with murder 10 times. The symbolic definition historically is you can be forgiven the death penalty 10 times. It's a symbolic thing. It's like if you give someone a medal, you have to, and that medal is supposed to be the best medal you can give, and then someone does something that's even better and you want to give them a new medal, and you want to make that new medal the new best medal ever, you've got to come up with a new symbolic meaning for that medal. So that's why Tom Cruise's IAS Freedom Medal was called the IAS Freedom Medal of Valor, the only one ever given. And so the Kakan status is just this thing that would be given to some people to symbolize that they were so valuable to Scientology that they could be forgiven the death penalty 10 times. But only David Miscavige could give the Kakan status, which means as soon as you're in bad with David Miscavige, he just takes it away. It's not like David Miscavige's hands are tied because he's like, oh damn, I shouldn't have given Marty that Kakan status. Now I'm screwed. No, he just takes it away and throws him in the hole and treats him like a piece of shit like everybody else. So I hope I answered that question. What, if anything, do you miss about being on staff or being in the Sea Org? This is one of the questions that came up in a previous video over the last few days that I wanted to address. So my simple answer is nothing. I want to fully understand where this question comes from. So I think it's the idea that if you live in the Sea Org, you live in a completely sequestered bubble removed from the world. And to a degree, there's truth to that, but in many ways it's not true. I think a lot of people's concept of the Sea Org comes from the stories they've heard of international management, which is your true representation of your typical cult, where they live in a fenced-off compound in the middle of the desert, and all other Scientologists aren't even supposed to know the location, and you're not allowed to have any communication in or any communication out without security guards reading everything. Like that's what you usually think of when you think of a cult. You're not going to the movies, you're not watching TV, you're not watching the internet. That's like the true cult thing. Now, don't get me wrong, the Sea Org is still very cult-ish. But most of my time in Scientology was spent working at the church in Philadelphia. And that's just like working a normal day job as far as your involvement with the world. You're still watching TV, you're still reading newspapers, you're still on the internet, you're still meeting and interacting with non-Scientologists. For many of those years, I held down a day job. I was in the Sea Org for 4 years. And when I was in the Sea Org, I was not at the international base. I was in one of those orgs off of Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. And yes, it's true. 9 out of 10 days, I never even left the base, that street. But you don't feel like you're in a cult. You don't feel like you're in a compound. I think it's safe to say no one who's in a cult feels like they're in a cult. And I guess this goes to my answer to this question. What do you miss about being on staff or in the Sea Org? Okay, well, one thing that I could say I miss, although it's not even true for me anymore because I don't have to worry about money, right? I make a very good living. But before I made a very good living, one thing I missed was not having to worry about normal world problems. When you're in the Sea Org, you don't have rent, you don't have a mortgage, you don't have a girlfriend you've got to, go out and date and spend money that way. You don't, like, when I actually joined the Sea Org, I remember calling some of my friends in Philadelphia and being like, this is much easier than being on staff. Because when I was on staff, I was working over 100 hours a week, but I also had a job, a fiance, a car, a house, a mortgage, and it's very stressful. I wasn't sleeping. I got more sleep in the Sea Org than I probably got when I was working at the Philadelphia org, working a full-time org schedule and holding down a full-time day job. So I think I answered that question. Email address, growingupinscientology, all spelled out, @gmail.com. Patty Johnson, oh, you're going to tour the DC org. That's cool. I think it's a pretty nice org. I was at Books A Million in Port Richey, and they had free bookmarks at the front desk promoting the release of Battlefield Earth. Is this bookstore connected to the church? No, the church does not own any bookstores. And for the record, I will go on the record, despite the consequences, and say that the book Battlefield Earth was a goddamn good book. The movie was the worst movie ever made. But if you haven't read the book, just read it. I think if you hate L. Ron Hubbard, it might not be easy to stomach his fiction books, because it might be too hard to get past the fact that you feel like you're reading his excuse for creating Scientology or something. I truly enjoyed that book. I read it, I think, twice. I was deeply disappointed by the movie. Was it Mitt Romney, when he was on the campaign trail, was asked what his favorite novel was, and he actually said Battlefield Earth? That was funny. Okay, Leah also talked about the Kakan status on the radio show in reference to John Travolta. John Travolta may or may not have gotten the Kakan status. I just don't know. Do you share Chris Stelton's disdain for eggs? I do not. In the Sea Org, you eat eggs every morning. Unless you just can't stand eggs, and there's at least one other thing you could eat instead of eggs. I love eggs. I still eat eggs. I eat eggs every single day. They probably form the basis of my diet. Eggs and chicken. In the past, we heard how Scientology harassed and belittled former members who left. Is Scientology attacking and harassing you? If so, to what extent? If you look at the hate website that they put up about me at aaronsmithlevin.com, and small segue, I've simply never got around to asking a lawyer to help me figure out how to get aaronsmithlevin.com back. I had purchased whoisAaronsmithlevin.com because that's the URL they use for everybody. And it didn't occur to me to purchase aaronsmithlevin.com because I figured they knew that was illegal, and that's why they don't do that. And so The URL is still aaronsmithlevin.com. If you look at that website, it's clear that they were following me for a while. Other than what other forms of harassment? I've had some state agents knock on my door, following up on anonymous complaints about this and that, and it's always been bullshit. But to be honest, I've never fully known whether that harassment was from Scientology or Herbalife. My business does research for hedge funds on publicly traded companies, and one very public project I participated in was researching and exposing Herbalife as being a pyramid scheme and also violating China's anti-multi-level marketing laws. And Herbalife very much acts like a cult, and they put up a big hate website on Bill Ackman, who's the owner of the hedge fund that launched that investigation. And they tried to smear me in the press. They literally tried to get the New York Times to run a smear article on me. They tried to get Fox Business News to run a smear article on me. They had their lawyers send me letters, looking pretty much exactly like Scientology's lawyers' letters, accusing me of faking all my research and lying about this and lying about that. And I begged Bill Ackman to let me go on to Fox Business News and MSNBC and defend myself. And they're like, it's best just to ignore this kind of stuff. And I was like, but I want to confront these motherfuckers. And he was like, that's not what we do. We do not play their game. So I've never truly known whether the harassment I've experienced was from Scientology or from Herbalife. And no matter how you look at it, it hasn't been a great amount of harassment. Leah mentioned in an interview that we could look up the policies, but I cannot seem to find them. There's a website you can point me to learn more. Okay, the policies about what? Just do a follow-up statement here. The policies about what exactly? If it's the policies about the Kakan status, I'm going to have to double check. I still have access to the whole policy volumes, but I don't have access to the flag orders, which were the policies LRH wrote specifically for the Sea Org. I thought the Kakan status was in a flag order, and if it is, I don't have access to those. But I'll check. I'll check the policy volumes to see if there's anything about the Kakan status there. Do you think Int Base entirely in the near future? Do you think Int Base... Okay, let's see. You have to... Okay, do you think DM will retire the Int Base entirely in the near future? No, I don't. I did read Tony's article. Tony and I do not agree on what he's saying about... or his position or his theory on DM sort of making a last stand in Clearwater or trying to consolidate everything into Clearwater. I do not agree with that. It's okay. I understand why he's saying what he's saying. I know why I'm saying what I'm saying. He's not going to retire the Int Base. There are questions, though, that I have about that. Like, why is anybody still at the Int Base? Why is Golden Era Productions still at the Int Base when they just opened up KCAT Studios on Sunset Boulevard? I don't understand that. Hey, Aaron. I just lost it. Sorry, I gotta go back to it. A bit of a personal question here. Feel free not to answer. Was the incident wherein you were knocked unconscious as a teen by a grown man the most abusive thing you personally experienced? Yes, I would say that it was. What percentage of Sea Org members have day jobs? No. 0% of Sea Org members have day jobs. I was actively on... Well, I was on staff at the Philadelphia Church of Scientology, which is not a Sea Org. From 1993 to 2002. And for at least the last 3 years of that, I worked a 40-hour a week day job, and then I was on staff at the org nights and weekends. Which you can imagine is that's a lot of hours, you know what I mean? Especially when you've got a girlfriend or a fiance. Have you traveled outside the U.S. whilst in the Church of Scientology or after you left? After I left Scientology for business, I was actually able to travel outside the U.S. Within the last year or two, I've traveled to Toronto, Vancouver, Quebec, Vienna, Austria, Moscow, Russia, Milan, Italy, London, Glasgow, Edinburgh, and that's probably it. Any update on the padded room at the bottom of the ladder in the school? Yeah, I never got any photos of that. I never had any other communication about that. Leah Remini mentioned in an interview. Oh, no, you already did that one. Okay. I don't want to write my email address in the comments because then spam things capture that. Growing up in Scientology at gmail.com. Explain the Maiden Voyage. What is it and why is it a big deal? Oh, the Maiden Voyage. Well, a Maiden Voyage is the first trip that a ship ever makes. So every year, the Freewinds ship, that is the church's cruise ship where they deliver OT8, has an event celebrating the anniversary of its maiden voyage. And it's not a big deal. The church just holds these events as international propaganda tools. And it's a chance for David Miscavige to brief the congregation. It's a chance to raise money for the International Association of Scientologists. It's basically a chance to count the heads. Scientology absolutely keeps track of who doesn't attend events, and those people are known to perhaps not be in good standing after a while. Are you familiar with Hubbard's sci-fi writing of the 30s and 40s? Judging by Wikipedia, it was positively received. Yes, actually, Hubbard's early sci-fi work is promoted to the church members. In fact, Author Services, which is the Scientology organization that acts as L. Ron Hubbard's literary agent, put a giant leatherback book collection together called the Classic Fiction Series, and sells these with like gold leaflet pages and whatever. I always enjoyed those early sci-fi stories. I have no problem with LRH's sci-fi work. Do you still live across the street from your parents? So, from my wife's, my in-laws, they own the properties across the street from us as rental properties. They don't live in them. They sold one of them recently. They're trying to sell the other one, and we still see them over there pretty much every day, and we send our kids over there to say hi 2 or 3 times a week, just because. We don't go over there to see them. We do send the kids over to say hi. Did you and Chris toast your racism conversation? I don't know what that means. Clarify. Crazy to me that Marty's videos are now on the hate site for the aftermath. Yeah, I know. Completely transparent. Do public members have to read LRH's fiction works as well as the Scientology materials? They do not have to. No, they don't. What is a normal day for COB? It's not really possible to answer. Is Guillaume Leserve still in? Yes, he is still in. And I've asked Mike Rinder, like, Mike, why is Guillaume still there? And hold on 1 second. I have to... Okay, I'm going to answer an email while we talk. For many Sea Org members at the Int Base, the explanation for why they're still there is they have nowhere else to go. They don't have money. They don't have family. And even that's not a good answer, but it is an answer. It happens to not be true for Guillaume Leserve. Guillaume Leserve has a lot of family outside of Scientology. His family has a lot of money, and he could go any time he wants. Okay, 1 moment, guys. Hang in there with me. Hang in there with me. Hang in there with me, guys. I'm sorry. I have to answer this email. Okay, back. I'm back. Sorry, that was important. Okay, Guillaume Leserve, if Ray Mithoff blows and publicly confirms that OT 9 and 10 doesn't exist, will this be the end for the CFS? Yes! That would absolutely be the end for the Church of Scientology. Ray Mithoff, his post is Senior Case Supervisor International. That, in the world of Scientology, means that Ray Mithoff is the most senior technical person in the entire world of Scientology. Ray Mithoff is a very well-known and respected person within Scientology. And Ray Mithoff is the one who allegedly had conversations with L. Ron Hubbard wherein he was supposed to be imparting data to Ray Mithoff about what the upper OT levels were supposed to be about. Now keep in mind, even that as a story is suspect. LRH wrote everything down. He either recorded or wrote everything down. But Miscavige likes to roast or haze Ray Mithoff for being the one to blame for the fact that we have no idea, the world of Scientology has no idea what the upper OT levels are supposed to be because Ray forgot. Ray can't remember what knows name and 3 people in the world I know. Oh boy, I'm gonna have to all right, I don't want to have to end the video. There's something I have to address, but we're gonna finish this. What is a normal... Okay, I'm sorry. Where were we? Ray Mithoff. We were talking about Ray Mithoff. Okay. So, yeah, apparently Miscavige says that Ray claims he can't remember what LRH said about what the upper OT levels are supposed to be. I mean, that is hilarious. So, and Ray absolutely does know that there's no OT levels. So, yes, if the senior most technical person in charge of Scientology were to come out and say there's no more OT levels, yes, that would be the end of Scientology, in my opinion. Now, would you still have people, because I actually know people who are like this, who have said to me, like there are Scientologists who I have said, who I've spoken with and said there's no more OT levels, who said, I don't care even if that's true. They said, I don't believe you, but even if that's true, I don't care. Because I would still want to do everything LRH laid out on the bridge as much as I could to get into the best shape possible as a Thetan that I could, and then figure it out from there. I was like, okay, you're dumb. I know a Scientologist who works for Herbalife. There are a lot of Scientologists who work for Herbalife. Tom Cruise's sister, Marion Henry, is an Herbalife distributor. If you wonder why I keep reaching for my phone, it's to clear the text message notifications. Okay, so Scientology and multi-level marketing work very well together because Scientologists tend to go down for get-rich-quick schemes because they tend not to make a lot of money and they tend to spend a lot of hours working for the church, so they're very welcoming of something they think can make them a lot of money quickly. And MLM people can be very convincing. And I know, just like no one who's in a cult thinks they're in a cult, no one who's in an MLM thinks they're in a pyramid scheme. And, I don't want to offend people that are in MLMs. I even know former Scientologists who are in MLMs and know the research I've done on MLMs and insist that theirs is the one exception to the rule. It is possible for an MLM not to be a pyramid scheme. And the only way that's possible is if the product truly, truly is as beneficial as they claim, and if the people buying it are truly, truly buying it only because they want to use it, right? And maybe resell it. But when you get into product hoarding and when you get into making purchases to qualify for other levels, you automatically get into pyramid scheme status. Have you heard of Tarvoism? No. Hi, Andrew. I'm Aaron, but you can call me Andrew if you want. Please explain how COB lives and where and who he hangs out with. He doesn't hang out with anybody. He has people that work with him, work for him. He doesn't have friends other than Tom Cruise. And how he lives. Well, just imagine the CEO of a giant company or a billionaire, and then ask yourself how they live. They wake up in the morning and their servants have everything ready for them. They have a schedule and an assistant and a butler and a steward and a communicator, which is just another kind of an assistant. And whatever, if they want to clear their meetings for the day, they clear their meetings. If they want to meet with people, they call meetings. If they want to blow it all off, they blow it all off. If they want to yell at people, they yell at people. He makes his own schedule. He does whatever he wants. He doesn't actually have management responsibilities. It's just whatever COB does. COB is chairman of the board, Religious Technology Center. Scientologists refer to David Miscavige as COB. Whatever he does on a day-to-day basis depends on whose job he wants to steal at that time. David Miscavige specializes in not letting the people under him do their jobs and insisting that he make the decisions. So, but at the same time, he keeps those people on their jobs. So if things in their area are going badly, he can blame them. If they make decisions that he wouldn't have made, he can also penalize them for saying, you didn't have the authority to make that decision, you were supposed to run everything by me. Anyway, he really is kind of crazy. but not stupid. Just because you're crazy does not mean you're stupid. It can't be that significant if Ray can't remember. But here's the thing. This is a comment that what L. Ron Hubbard said to Ray Mithoff about the OT levels must not be that significant if he can't remember. I don't believe L. Ron Hubbard I don't believe that L. Ron Hubbard had a conversation with Ray Mithoff wherein Ray was now supposed to remember the OT levels. That's absurd. I think Ray has been pressured through sec checking and ethics interviews, etc., coerced into admitting that L. Ron Hubbard told him what it was supposed to be, but he can't remember. Because it's not acceptable to say L. Ron Hubbard lied. L. Ron Hubbard didn't leave anything behind. So I think Ray has been forced into saying, oh, it's my fault. L. Ron Hubbard told me and I was supposed to remember, and I forgot. Like, it's just it's a ridiculous story. Jet Travolta. Okay, a good question about Jet Travolta. I want to address this because this comes up a lot. Jet Travolta suffered from autism that John and his wife did not acknowledge until after his death. They might not have killed him, but they didn't do all they could have. I disagree completely. And there's another point here that you're not making, but someone else has made, or maybe you've made it earlier. The argument gets made that the Travoltas inadvertently brought about Jet's death by not giving him the medication that he needed, because of Scientologists' aversion to using drugs. My response to that has always been, it's only psychiatric drugs that Scientologists are not allowed to take. It's not anti-seizure drugs. Scientologists are not, and look, I'm saying this definitively. This is not up for debate. This is not, maybe some people feel differently. Scientologists are not prohibited from taking any medical drugs. It is other than psychiatric drugs. Now, one response I received to that was, yes, but what you're missing is that the anti-seizure drugs are psych drugs. And that's an interesting point that I can't speak to because I don't know if that's true. Like, if Prozac had an indication for seizures, it is absolutely true that no Scientologist would be allowed to take Prozac for seizures. I cannot sit here before you and say that I know one way or the other whether all anti-seizure drugs are psychotropic drugs. To me, that sounds absurd. But I can't say yes or no. If it is true that all anti-seizure meds are psychotropic drugs, then it is also true that Jet Travolta would not have been given those drugs. But realize, these are statements given with big caveats, okay? So I believe that even though John and I can't believe I just went blank on his wife's name. I can't even believe it. Someone tell me his wife's name. Kelly Preston. I believe that that John and Kelly did treat Jet properly for his autism. They just didn't want to publicly say it was autism because they don't want to. I think people get confused about whether autism is a psychiatric indication, a mental indication, or a neurological indication. I've looked it up online myself. There is a disagreement about this. Autism is, for the most part, considered a neurological condition, not a psychiatric one. So I do not believe the Travoltas were negligent in their caring for Jet. I believe the kid had a seizure, man. He'd had seizures his whole life. Even people that take seizure meds get seizures. He had a seizure, he fell down, he hit his head. It is not fair to blame the Travoltas for not caring for him properly. Okay. In your opinion, will Greg Wilhair ever leave? No! In my opinion, Greg Wilhair will not ever leave, but in my opinion, Mike Rinder would have never left either, and he did. So it is possible. But if you want to probability adjust it, 95% chance Greg Wilhair never leaves. You've mentioned the show before, but exactly how close, accurate is the path to life? Is the TV show The Path to Life Inside Scientology? I'm so glad you reminded me. I'm going to do a series of videos comparing that TV show to Scientology. It is so similar. It is so similar. I want to meet the creator of this show and ask her how she became so informed, how the script in this show has been able to be so informed on accurate life in cults. I'm really going to be fascinated to learn more about that. I heard that he had seizures and Scientology does not believe in seizure medication. Yeah, it's not that Scientology doesn't believe in seizure medication. It's that Scientology does not believe in psychotropic drugs. But maybe someone else can look it up online for me and throw it into the comments section. What are the most common seizure medications? And are they psychotropic drugs? Are they antipsychotics? Are they SSRIs? Is it selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors? Yeah, are they SSRIs? All SSRIs are considered psychotropic drugs in Scientology. Okay, any drug that has a psychoactive effect is strictly forbidden. Yes, that's true. Well, you're saying a psychoactive effect. I'm saying, is it a psychotropic drug? And maybe, again, maybe we have to define that. Maybe I don't know the actual definition of a psychotropic drug. Have you met Jamie DeWolf? I did meet Jamie DeWolf. Yes. Are the posts of RTC Inspector General and the head of OSA still vacant since Rathbun and Rinder blew? I believe that the post of RTC Inspector General is vacant. The head of OSA is absolutely filled. Have you seen Holy Hell? No, I haven't, but I would like to. Conman, did LRH say Xenu was a psych? I don't think he actually said that. Did he ever demonize the mental health field prior to the rejection of his pseudoscience? No! And this is a great point, and I'm glad people have, caught on to this. It's not a secret, but I'm glad that people are paying attention enough to realize this. It wasn't until the medical profession and the psychiatric profession completely dismissed his work, his Dianetics, as a piece of shit work, as a work of fiction, that he decided to rail against those industries. And that's, in the earlier versions of Dianetics, he actually even gave a credit to many other people, including, I believe, one psychiatrist, for the work that they've done that made his work, Dianetics, possible. Aside from the fact that it was a work of fiction. What would happen if the government advanced on Scientology in the manner of Waco? I bet Miscavige would throw his staff under the bus and sneak out the back door. No. They would be very peacefully. It would be a very peaceful raid, and nobody would rat, and nobody would leave. It's easy for me to say that, but when I read the book Jim Jones, The Road to Jonestown, the people that were with Jim Jones in South America, they all acted like they wanted to be there. And when the government, some government people and some reporters showed up, they still acted like they wanted to be there. Until it was time for those reporters and the one or two government agents to leave. And then people started going, okay, take me with you. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. You have to take me with you. And then when people saw that happening, more people were like, take me with you as well. Take me with you as well. And then it started to snowball a little bit. And then Jim Jones lost it and ordered these people murdered. And then all shit broke loose. Do you think Rathbun is trying to get back into the good graces of Scientology? To be perfectly honest, I don't. I think Rathbun only cares about wanting everyone to know how right he is. And I believe that he would be doing these videos, even if Scientology is the one recording those videos. I believe it's totally possible he is still not actually getting back into Scientology. In his mind, he's probably like, no, I never left. I've just always been Marty. I've never been Marty a Scientologist or Marty a SEERG member or Marty an independent or Marty whatever. I'm just Marty. And I'm still just being true to Marty. And I'm going to say what's true for Marty. As Marty, I'm going to say what's true to Marty. Damn the consequences. So maybe he is getting back into Scientology. Maybe he's not. I'm not even convinced that he is. That's all I'm saying. Just because he's doing all these videos, throwing everyone he's ever known under the bus and saying all this, just because he's reading a script written by the Church of Scientology, I'm still not convinced that his motivation is to get back into Scientology. I think his motivation is to be Marty being true to Marty in his insane way. Tori Magoo was not supposed to take seizure meds. Yeah, so I can't speak to Tori's situation. I also can't have that conversation without us being able to discuss what specifically the medications she was taking was. I think I have heard that story. I think I've heard Tori tell that story, that she wasn't allowed to take her seizure meds. But, actually, okay, here's the answer. And please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going off of memory here. Tori was getting auditing. And I think she was told that she could not get auditing while taking the seizure meds. And that would fit in with Scientology's policies. It doesn't mean that as a Scientologist, you're not allowed to take seizure meds. She could have said, okay, fine, I just won't get the auditing. But you're not allowed to be on medication while getting auditing for the most part. So I hope that clears it up a little bit. Whereas Jet Travolta, they wouldn't have taken Jet off of seizure meds to get him auditing. Someone who's autistic cannot get auditing, or not get auditing on the e-meter, which is what Tori would have been getting. I think that Tori Christman said that she was disallowed to take anti-seizure drugs in the Sea Org. Well, that's also another possibility. Someone cannot be taking, serious medications like that and be in the Sea Org. Now, she probably would have, the Sea Org I know would have said, no, Tori, you're not qualified to be in the Sea Org because you have a physical condition. So maybe some idiot sat her down and was like, stop dramatizing, like, and just told her to stop taking her meds. But someone who's on meds like that, in my experience, would not be allowed into the Sea Org because they're you know, you have to be careful with them. You have to be careful with their schedule. You have to be careful with their diet. You have to be careful with their sleep. And the Sea Org doesn't like being careful with people. So I'm not negating anything Tori Christman said. What she's saying does not conflict with what I'm saying. Okay. More questions about the epilepsy thing. I hope I've explained that. If a Scientologist takes a medication for something, do you have to go into the sauna to purify your body again? It doesn't work like that. I know every 5 or 10 years, you know, when people justify doing the purification rundown again, one of the ways they justify that is all of the medicine that they've taken in the meantime. But it's not like there's no cause and effect relationship like that where, oh, I just took a course of antibiotics and Advil for 6 months, so now I've got to redo my Purif. It doesn't work like that. Okay, more comments about Tori. I hope that's cleared up. He doesn't know. He didn't work with COB or even near him for any long periods of time. There are 5,000 people in the Sea Org, and 99% of them don't work directly with COB. Well, that's an accurate statement, but I also don't know what you're referring to. I'm not trying to project blame onto them. It must have been horrible, but I do recall they called it Kawasaki syndrome. Yes. Publicly, Kelly Preston called Jet's condition Kawasaki syndrome, and she blamed it on the chemicals in her rug after it had a chemical cleaning. What basis she had to claim to know those things, I don't claim to know. Okay, more things about Tori Magoo. I hope you guys, I hope I've clarified that. Scientologists believe our universe is created by aliens, right? Yeah, no. So let me clarify. In order to call something an alien, you have to have something to contrast against. Like Americans call foreigners illegal aliens because they're not American. People of Earth would call people from other planets aliens because they're not of Earth. But the reason why I say no when you say the universe created by aliens is because Scientology believes we're all aliens. Scientology does not believe dying. I'm dying to see how these phone calls are going to screw with the actual final video that gets uploaded to YouTube. So sorry about that. Scientology does not believe that life originated on this planet or any planet for that matter. Hold on one sec. Can I call you back in about 20? Thanks. So Scientology believes life is just like Star Wars. Life in the universe is everywhere. And that as Thetans, we don't hail from a planet. So, have I answered the question? Scientology. Okay, here's a perfect analogy. Let's take a look at how a Christian might look at it. Who created life? God. Who created God? Nobody. God has always has been and always will be. I don't claim to say that every Christian would answer that question that way, but I believe the Christian answer would be one of two answers. One, God never was created. He's always been. Or God just decided to be one day, and then he was. Scientologists would answer it with the exact same way, but with Thetans. So who created life? Thetans. Who created Thetans? Nobody. They always have been and always will be. Or all Thetans as one theta entity or a combined entity composed of trillions of Thetans just one day decided to be. And boom, they were. It's the spiritual Big Bang. That is, and I think this is fascinating that people do not know that this is the actual origin story of life in Scientology. That life starts with Thetans, which they call theta. Theta is either the plural of Thetans or just the energy of Thetans is theta. Life is created by theta, and theta just decided to exist one day. Boom! As far as Scientology is concerned, that is the origin story. Scientology does not care whether human bodies evolved on Earth or whether human bodies evolved elsewhere and then were frozen in ice cubes and shot down to Earth. That whole, the logistics of how all that came to be, of how the current human form came to be on Earth, is irrelevant in the story of Scientology. Great question. It's a good question. Any updates on Scientology broadcasting on television? No, but I can't wait because it's going to be nonstop comedy. Okay, more comments about Tori Magoo. I hope we're good on that. Who is the current head of OSA? The last I knew it was Kurt Weiland, but I don't know if that's true anymore. I do know that many anti-seizure meds are given for psych conditions, but I think their mechanism is neurological. If their mechanism is neurological, but wait, an SSRI, a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, still has a neurological method of action. It's preventing certain serotonin receptors or serotonin from being reuptaked, whatever. I'm not even going to pretend to understand how it works, but it is neurological. So just because the method of action of a drug is neurological doesn't make it not a psychotropic medication, unless I'm wrong, in which case mention it in the comment section below. Will we ever see a broadcast from Scientology Media Productions? I think we will, and I cannot wait. If I remember, okay, more comments about Tony. Friendly reminder, auditing videos. Oh yes, I'm absolutely going to do a video where I go over what actual auditing commands are on the grades. I think people would be fascinated to see that stuff. Do you think Rathbun is really... Oh, sorry, I'm scrolling, so sometimes I get this mixed up. Do you think Rathbun really just wishes that he'd been the one to take over the C of S? No, I don't. Aaron, thank you for your frankness and courage. Well, thank you for watching. Okay, can't get auditing. Wouldn't that make one a second-class Scientologist? Look, there are people within Scientology who are not allowed to receive auditing. They're called illegal pre-clears. And anyone who has ever... Listen, this is important. Any Scientologist, anyone who gets into Scientology, who has ever been under the care of a psychiatrist or a psychologist, or has for any extended period of time been on a psychotropic drug that was prescribed by a psychiatrist or a psychologist, is not allowed to receive auditing, but is allowed to keep being a Scientologist. They are allowed to do courses, they're allowed to do auditor training, they're allowed to audit people, and they're allowed to make special requests to get specific auditing actions. And if they've deemed to be a very dedicated and good Scientologist who's not freaking out and acting like a Looney Tune, then that request will normally be granted. But those people are not really considered second-class Scientologists. In fact, they're probably more dedicated than any of them if you actually just look at it kind of mathematically. Like, they're not even allowed to get auditing and they're still in there. Whereas normally the reason people are in is because they're, under this spell of how wonderful auditing is. Okay, what were Scientologists' thoughts on Battlefield Earth at the time? Were they ashamed? Yes, they were ashamed. Deeply ashamed. How did that much money get spent on a movie? And it's so bad. I honestly don't even know how that happens. Have you let go of the idea that anyone's idea of the answer yet? Aaron, question. Have you let go of the idea that anyone's idea of the answer yet? I'm sorry, that's not an English sentence. Please try it again. If Miscavige is zealous enough to do what Jim Jones did at the end. Is Miscavige zealous enough to do what Jim Jones did at the end? Do you believe he commands enough respect and fear to compel both murders and suicides? Good question. I've answered this before. I'll answer it again. My previous answer was that Scientology could never have a Jonestown-like scenario because Scientology does not believe in an afterlife in the same way that Christian groups do. And Jim Jones was a Christian, and his church was a Christian church. You have to believe in some paradise-like afterlife in order to... Okay, I'm trying not to make completely blanket general statements of fact. Just roll with me here. In order to feel, in a religious sense, that killing oneself has any value, you have to believe in an afterlife that's a better place than where we are now, for the most part. Scientology believes in an afterlife only in the sense that they believe you never die, but they don't actually believe in an afterlife. They don't believe there's any magical place that you go when you die, other than the implant station to get your mind wiped. I'm sorry, it's funny. So that's why I've said you couldn't get a Jonestown scenario. Now, there is one scenario where you could get a Jonestown scenario, even though I don't think it would happen. So Scientologists believe that LRH went off to Target 2 when he died, to another planet, to kick off Scientology on another planet while we wrapped up the job here on this planet. If David Miscavige were to convince the SEERG members at International Management that he received new instructions from L. Ron Hubbard, keep in mind, Miscavige does not claim to be in telepathic communication with Hubbard. Which, on the one hand, you're like, well, good, that would be crazy. But on the other hand, if you understand Scientology, he should be able to be in telepathic communication with L. Ron Hubbard if everything Scientology says is true. But he doesn't make that claim. But if he did all of a sudden come out and tell the SEERG members at International Management that he's been in touch with LRH, and LRH has been watching what's been happening on Earth, and he's been monitoring the governments and the media, and he's decided that Earth is a lost cause. If Miscavige said, LRH has told me that he's decided Earth is a lost cause, the SPs have taken hold, and Target 2 is a much bigger, better planet, and he's already taken over half of the government, and he wants us to join him on Target 2, that could get SEERG members at International Management to commit mass suicide. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm not even saying I believe that would happen. I'm just saying that's the scenario where it would be possible, even though Scientologists don't believe in an afterlife per se. Okay. How was Denver? Denver was great. That talk with Chris got awkward fast. Here's the thing. Chris and I spent a lot of time talking about racism and whether LRH was a racist. I don't find that to be an awkward conversation. Now, I can understand that having someone like me, who looks like I could be the poster child for the Aryan nation, talking about what it takes to be racist, what it takes to qualify as racist against black people, might be awkward. But I don't find those conversations awkward. I find those conversations fascinating and necessary. I think the fact that it feels so awkward to talk about racism is part of the problem that we have with racism and resolving it. And I think the real problem with that conversation, or any conversation about whether a person, much less L. Ron Hubbard, was a racist, is before you can talk about whether a person is that, you have to properly agree on the definitions of privilege, prejudiced, and racism and discrimination. These things are all different. They're not the same thing, and doing one doesn't make you the other, and all that kind of stuff. And my position is not L. Ron Hubbard wasn't racist, because I'm willing to acknowledge that I don't know. My position is that I've never seen or heard L. Ron Hubbard be racist. But there's other explanations for how that could be. Chris pointed out that a lot of the Scientology materials have had the racist parts removed from them. That's possible. Chris pointed out that LRH said a lot of racist stuff in letters to Mary Sue. Well, that's possible. Anyway, I won't rehash the entire conversation now. But I don't find those conversations awkward. I find them fascinating and educational. Okay, what would happen to Scientology if David Miscavige died? Same shit, another day. Okay, let's see. What's next? Phone calls are only several frame interruptions. Oh, good. What when you do these videos in the evening? All right, here we go. Do Thetans have a source? Can Thetans be created or destroyed? No, that is not part of the Scientology story, that you can create a Thetan or destroy a Thetan. Most of the common seizure meds is phenobarbital, and it is an antidepressant barbiturate. There is also a drug called zonisamide that is an anti-seizure drug that is not psychotropic. That's right. So just, you guys can do your own online research. If there is an anti-seizure medication that is not a psychotropic drug, then Jet Travolta would have been on it. Now, I also can't sit here and say that I know what drugs Jet was on. And look, if the Travoltas did not give Jet anti-seizure meds because of some of the beliefs that they held, that is goddamn unfortunate, and it absolutely would have caused his death. My position has simply been that I am saying that as a Scientologist, not me as a Scientologist, as a Scientologist, I just want to clear up that you're not prohibited from taking any drugs other than drugs that are classified as psych drugs. Now, part of the problem is that your average Scientologist probably does not know what the definition of psych drug is, other than whether their ethics officer tells them they can take it or not. Do you see what I mean? So, anyhow, I think we've addressed this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Tom Cruise says something to the effect that Scientology cured him of his dyslexia. I think that's bullshit. What is your opinion? Yeah, this has been Tom Cruise's story from the beginning. Now, here's the thing. I don't know what the science says on whether dyslexia can or cannot be cured. My only understanding of dyslexia is that when you're trying to read, sometimes you read words backwards, or you see them backwards, and so you can't read them. That's fine. Tom Cruise claims that was a problem for him. He claims after learning how to use a dictionary and learning how to clear up all of the basic words in English that he didn't understand, he no longer suffered from this problem. And I believe him. But did he actually have dyslexia? Or was he just a shitty reader? Do you know what I mean? Like, in order to say whether you were cured from something, you have to be able to say that you actually had it. And I don't know if dyslexia is something that can be cured, and if it is or is not, I don't know if Tom Cruise ever actually had it. I think he just sucked at reading, and Scientology has a very strong emphasis on using dictionaries and looking up the definitions of words and making sure you don't go by anything you don't understand. And the truth is, once you do that for a long enough time, you get much better at reading. And that's all I can say. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Oh no, we did that one. Didn't L. Ron Hubbard take different aspects of religion? Sorry guys, sometimes, because I'm scrolling, sometimes the thing jumps on me. And kind of mush it together in Scientology. There's a lot of Buddhism in it as well as Christianity. Well, the only parts of Christianity... Well, first of all, the answer to your question is yes. That's exactly what he did. But the only parts of Christianity that are in Scientology would maybe be just a common sense, like, love thy neighbor things. Other than that, I'm curious what parts of Christianity you think would be in there. Yeah, there's a lot of Buddhism in Scientology. Or there's a lot of concepts from Buddhism that are also in Scientology. But don't forget, L. Ron Hubbard claimed to have been the reincarnation of Buddha. So there's that. Sounds like L. Ron Hubbard was in a psychosis himself or took some drugs. I think both of those things are absolutely true. Will Scientology continue when David Miscavige gets arrested or dies? Yes, he will be. Okay. Do you audit yourself? No, I do not engage in any form of Scientology counseling or activity or study or anything. I'm not an independent Scientologist. SSRIs are not used to treat seizures. I'm not saying that they are. Did you used to enjoy Sea Org Day, or was it just more work from you? Were there any nice perks or treats for your org or your group? Well, every Sea Org member enjoys Sea Org Day. Does a lion from the circus enjoy the day it gets to walk out of its cage? So everybody enjoys Sea Org Day. It's one of the only days of the year you don't have to be on post. Everybody, like, if you're ever at the beach within 15 miles of a Sea Org base, on August 12th, and you see hundreds of pasty white people walking around with sunburns. You can be both. You can be pasty white and be sunburned. Then you know you're witnessing Sea Org Day. Okay, dumb question. What does RTF stand for? RTF or RPF? There is no... RTF is not an acronym in Scientology. The RPF is the Rehabilitation Project Force, which is Scientology's re-education camp. Is the Truth Network some kind of Scientology channel to demolish people's lives? I do not know what the Truth Network is. I'm an illegal OT8. Thank God I got kicked out. Cool. You are a brainwashed fucktard. Okay, I think you have come to this live stream thinking that I am advocating for Scientology, so you can fucktard off, please. What do you believe L. Ron Hubbard tried to cure within himself? Just psychosis. What's the point of being in Scientology if you can't do auditing or climb up the bridge? Isn't that the point? Good question. But if you believe in the story of Scientology, then you believe that Scientology has a mission to accomplish whether you're able to get auditing or not. So if somehow you've been able to fully swallow that story, then you are basically saying, I'm going to put my shoulder to the wheel and help Scientology clear the planet, even though I'm not allowed to go clear myself. And it's kind of sad, actually. I had to petition to get Scientology auditing because a family member worked for a local TV news show. Yes, if you have a family member who is in the media world, who is a reporter, you are an illegal pre-clear in Scientology and cannot get auditing. Okay. How will the Church of Scientology know if someone has had therapy or drugs and if they cannot be audited? Because when you get in to Scientology, you have to complete a life history form. And you fill out all of these things before you know what the consequences of divulging the information is, what the consequences are. And remember, people who get into Scientology aren't getting in to Scientology to deceive them. If you're getting into Scientology, you're inclined to be open and honest with them. Like, unless you're going in undercover, which is a whole different thing. Do you see what I mean? So someone could easily go, well, why wouldn't you just lie about it and say you never took psych drugs? Well, you don't join a self-help group which is exactly how people see Scientology when they're joining it, and then choose to deceive normally. Do you see what I mean? Jim Jones was not a Christian group. Carol, I don't know if you're saying this because you're saying no true Christian would do this or do that. Jim Jones was a Christian minister. Like, are you saying this because you don't know the history of Jim Jones, or are you saying this because you don't want to allow him to be described with a word that you use to describe yourself? Jim Jones was a Christian. Earlier in his life, he was actually a very good Christian minister. Later in his life, he became deranged and insane, a megalomaniac. But you can't say Jim Jones wasn't Christian. It was absolutely a Christian church and a Christian group, and he was a Christian minister. Okay. Can you tell me something about the Scientology condition in Europe? That's pretty general. A former Scientologist described in an interview that auditing gave him euphoria. I would agree with that. I heard that this is because of the hypnotic suggestion and commands. That's above my pay grade. I very much am inclined to reject those blanket descriptions of auditing, even though I'm willing to acknowledge that those things do come into play. I'm not willing to accept at this point without further proof, and the people that say these things have not themselves generally had much auditing, that the only reason auditing could ever make you feel good is because of hypnosis. Now look, just like I said, no one who's in a cult thinks they're in a cult. Maybe no one who's had auditing thinks they've been hypnotized. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is not an ideological position I'm holding. I'm just not willing to jump on that bandwagon that the only reason anyone has ever felt helped by auditing is due to hypnosis. I'm sorry, you have to fucking prove that. And writing it in a book doesn't prove it. Do you see what I mean? Like, some of these guys, anyway, I won't even go down that avenue there. Were you aware, despite the hundreds of religious symbols authorized for headstones in Arlington National Cemetery, that the Church of Scientology is not one of them? Yeah, I was aware of that. That's interesting. I don't think it means anything. Have you read Children of the Mind by Orson Scott Card? No, I have not. Why does Scientology use a cross in its sign? There's only one reason. Because L. Ron Hubbard wanted to present Scientology when he decided he wanted to present Scientology as a religion, he wanted to make it as socially acceptable as possible, and he wanted to use something that looked like Christian symbology that he could use to beat people over the head when they were criticizing the group, and that's the only reason. The actual symbol of a cross means nothing in Scientology. The fact that the Scientology cross has 8 points is used to represent the 8 dynamics of Scientology, but you can have any symbol that has 8 points or parts without using the cross. And the cross itself has absolutely no meaning in Scientology. Okay. Does anyone think that this planet is more clear than 40 years ago? No, I don't. See, the Scientologists played the game of a redefinition of terms. They say you don't have to clear everyone in the world in order to have a cleared world. Oh, look, it's Goliath the Fluffy. Come here, boy. Come here. No? You just want to chill? All right, I'm not going to bother you. Scientology says, oh, here. Oh, look, he wants to say hi. Let's see if I can do this without knocking anything over. Come here, boy. Come here. No? Come here. Come here. Can you do it? Fluffy boy. Oh, look, he just had a bath and a... Oh, come on, head up. He just had a bath? Oh, is this not the best dog? Is Goliath not the best dog? You're not an SP, are you? All right, I'll let you go. I'll stop bugging you. Okay. I guess I'm just gonna have to mute this person. You're fucking annoying. Block. You blocked. Okay. Poster child for the Aryan Nation. Hey, I can't deny it. I can't walk away from it. I look like a racist. Nobody looks like a racist, but you know what I mean. Okay. Oh, wow, we really are... Oh, he's a Labradoodle. He's 75% standard poodle, 25% Labrador. And he is the most popular dog in town. Swear to God. All right, guys, I'm probably going to have to wrap it up here. I love doing these things. If I could be more organized with my schedule, I would do these every single day. So let's just stop it there. And so when this video actually goes up on YouTube, if there's other questions that you want me to answer, I generally look to whatever the most recent comments are on my channel is the ones I tend to answer. That's just kind of how it goes. So that's it, guys. Awesome talking to you. See you again soon.